yes, we're here. We're at the midpoint of 2024 and we're looking at what the best albums of the entire year are so far. This isn't any genre specific video. If you've been catching them on the channel, well, I'm glad you have been, because I've done the best pop albums, I've done the best rap albums, I've also been uploading best songs of the year sporadically as well in short form. So there have been mid-year videos already, so you should check all of those out, of course. But today is just the best albums that have been released in 2024 so far, regardless of genre, just based on my own opinion, in no particular order, as I like to do with the mid-year list. It's too early to be doing numbered, ordered lists. I don't agree with that. It's too early, guys. It's too early. But what we will be doing, we'll be talking about the best albums of the year, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on my picks. Let me know your thoughts on what yours would be, what I should be checking out. If there's anything I missed that should be on my list. If there's something you think should be here that I might not like that much, I will probably reply and say, well, actually, I don't really like the new Vampire Weekend album. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But this is my own personal list. Hopefully you get some recommendations out of it, and make sure you're subscribing for more content like this as well. We've got the best songs of the year to come soon as well, which is always one of my most favorite videos on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed, and maybe if you're feeling generous, check out my Patreon. Maybe. I'm too excited to waste any more time. Let's just get on with it now. The first one I want to mention here is Glass Beach with their second album. Pretty early in the year that this one came out, but has stuck with me throughout the year. I think it's really great. I think it's an improvement on their first one as well, which was a good album, but I was impressed to see them kind of come into their own a little bit more on here. Thought some of the instrumentation was fantastic. Some of the kind of more driving indie rock moments on tracks like Motions was fantastic. Some of the way the tracks meander and are pretty sprawling and lengthy, I thought was really interesting as well. Really found it quite gripping the whole way through. There's some Radiohead inspiration popping up as well in the vocals and in the way some of the instrumentals are kind of structured, which I know some people who watch this channel will probably be big Radiohead fans. So if you skip this album, then that might be a reason for you to check it out. But yeah, genuinely really passionate vocals, really super euphoric delivery at times. Just find it to be such a great album from the year 2024. Great in the indie rock field as well. Yeah, can't really fault this one. Next I want to mention Vince Staples with Dark Times. Just super impressed with the way this guy is showcasing his maturity and talking about some really serious and deep topics on his music now in such a great way, such a harrowing way at times. He doesn't hold back, he's blunt, he's very much, painting a vivid picture here of the lifestyle that he is surrounded by, the environment he's surrounded by. It's really impressive. I think Vince is on a great run at the moment. His work was always good. He's always put out good music, but at the moment, I just think this 2020s run is on a new level for him, and I've just been so impressed with what he's doing. Find these tracks to be so great. There's a West Coast bounce coming through on some of these songs, like Little Homies as well. Et Fues, however you say it, another great track. Yeah. So many great moments on here. Vince is sounding as pained as he ever has. It's a beautiful album in such a sad way. Yeah, got to mention this one. Want to mention the Marias next, who are going a bit under the radar with this one. I think if you're a fan of bedroom pop, you have to be checking this one out. There's been some notable releases already in 2024. We've had that Gracie Abrams album that had that kind of vibe to it. Of course, Clairo has not long dropped her album as well. That's obviously like the trailblazer for this sound. But what I liked about the Marias is that they just had a bit more of a flair to their sound that kept me engaged. Some of the tracks had a nice, catchy flow to them. Run Your Mouth is a good one. It's just a really nice bop. For example, you've also just got some of the tracks that feel really sweet and endearing in a nice way as well. The vocals are absolutely lovely. They don't get washed out by the reverb, or they don't get washed out by the instrumentation. It just ends up being whispery and faint. No, she's a good singer that showcases that and keeps her voice at the top of the mix in a great way. I'm just impressed. Some nice little Spanish coming through as well. Adds a nice dynamic to the album on some of the tracks. Yeah, I think it's great. Not really usually some kind of album that I would absolutely be fawning over, but there's always exceptions to the rule. Chelsea Wolfe showing us once again that she should be at the forefront of music conversations, because it seems like every time she puts something out, people get hyped for it, and then we kind of forget about her for a few years, and then she comes back again. But no, this time around, we are not doing that with Chelsea. This is a great album that really highlights some remarkable creativity on her part here. She's really like delved into some heavy sort of industrial dark wave stuff, which the gothic sounds have always been there, the gothic vibes have always been there, but some of these tracks are really like in your face with the industrial instrumentation. I just found it to be super impressive, and it has to be mentioned in this video as being one of the best of 2024 so far. Very impressed. Have to mention Freo next, because I just feel like these guys completely came out of nowhere with this album, but it just feels like a classic indie rock staple already. Like, this has the sounds of the late 90s, the early 2000s, of all of your favorite bands that you probably listened to when you were, you know, a teenager and you were getting into that kind of music at that time, and you're still holding on to all these years later. Although I say that I wasn't that age at that time, but if you are somebody that is, then Freo will bring up some really nostalgic vibes, because they're doing it in such a way that feels committed to the role, but also like sounds modern and doesn't sound like pastiche, which can be something that rubs me the wrong way a little bit. But tracks like Statues, I mean, what a great song that is, man. Chemical, so many good songs. This is one of the best of the year for me, easily. And I appreciate that a new band has come out like this, sounding this way, and they've got me excited. Charlie XCX, Brat, yes, of course, I'm the 900th music critic reviewer person on the internet telling you that this is one of the best albums of the year. You're probably bored of people telling you that at this point, but let's not let the conversation die down, because it really is that good. I was so happy to see Charlie just be given the artistic vision to just live out exactly what she wanted to do on this album. It just feels as though after Crash, and maybe even, you know, the self-titled album as well from 2019, where she had the kind of like big name features on it, it felt like, you know, she was being under a little bit of control from the label and pressured to do things that maybe she wouldn't have really done if she had the whole, you know, artistic license to do what she wanted to do, as we saw on How I'm Feeling Now, which felt way more in her own vision. And this album, Brat, here does as well. And my God, look at what happens when you don't fake it and you don't pretend to be something you're not, and you just do something that you want to frigging do. Because this is easily her most successful album so far. It's already gone silver in the UK. Some of her other albums didn't even pass that certification, by the way. It's, you know, charted really well. It's become such an iconic kind of like rollout for her as well. So many people are going to remember the kind of like, you know, Billboard things that she was doing at the time, the way she dropped the remixes as well. It's just all gone in the right direction for her, and it's paid off so well. The music sounds great. It's just as good as anything we've ever heard from her. I'd even dare to say this might be her best album so far. I mean, some of the tracks on here, like Sympathy is a Knife, Von Dutch, I think about it all the time. The vulnerability paired in with her usual sound and pushing it into a bit more of like an almost like house direction at times has just worked for her so well. This is just great. I can't deny it. Charlie killed it here. Almighty So 2, Chief Keef finally came out. It delivered as well. You cannot deny that he really did keep us waiting, but he at least gave us the goods when the time was finally come to drop this album. But yeah, this has been such a great album for me this year. Just hard as hell from start to end. Chief at his very best, really, here. I mean, let's not forget as well, it has been a little bit of a while to me personally to feel like I've heard a Chief Keef release where I've actually been excited for it, because he's not really been on the best run, I wouldn't say, but still, you never rule out Chief Keef. The guy is one of a kind when it comes to this style of music. The drill, the trap coming through as well, the hardest hell bangers, just from start to end, man. 1, 2, 3. You've got Runner as well. You've got Banded Up with Tierra Reich, which has a great feature on there. You've got the track with Sexy Red on it as well, which also has a great feature, which I'm not usually the biggest fan of her, but still, I was won over by that one as well. You've got Believe, which goes way deeper than some of the stuff we've ever heard Chief Keef do before. Yeah, love it. I think it's fantastic. And yeah, just great to see a sequel to something live up to what the original gave us originally, because that is kind of rare if we're being honest. But not this time around. The Last Dinner Party debut album here. My God, they kind of really stole the show with this one, didn't they? Because while there were lots of claims of them being industry plants, etc., etc., I didn't really care a huge amount about it because I just thought the music was showing that they really did deserve the hype they were getting. I mean, it's very rare to see this kind of indie album, indie rock album, chamber pop album get such huge amounts of attention from the get-go. So if more albums had this happening to them, I wouldn't really mind, regardless if they're industry plants, because it just really did sound as good as everybody was saying it was. Some of the tracks just feel kind of like Black Country New Road inspired, while also pulling from that 2000s, you know, maybe late 2000s, maybe even like a Marina and the Diamonds feel to some of the theatrical moments on this album too. Got Florence and the Machine weaving her way into the influence as well. Oh, sorry, weaving their way, because they are a band. Let's not get it wrong, Ryan. Come on. But yeah, great songs on here. Just feels like they had a great approach to nailing this, because albums like this can sometimes feel, you know, maybe just a little one note, maybe just feels like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, you've got the theatrics and it's all huge and big and a bit epic at times, but it doesn't really hit. But no, I think they managed to work in their influences really nicely, and it provided one of the best albums of the year so far for sure. Have to mention Hannah Francis with Keeper of the Shepherd. I'm really impressed with this album, particularly the title track, which has this really like stomping, romping beat to it, which I think sounds fantastic. It's got this really like classic folk feel throughout the album as well. Reminds me of artists like, you know, like Richard Dawson, who feel like they're making music that came from another time period and it's just being slotted into the modern day, and yet it shouldn't really exist in the time period that it's coming out, but yet it does. Thinking particularly an album like Peasant, which is a great album still, by the way. Even if the talk around Richard Dawson has died off, you should still go listen to that album because it is very, very good. But yeah, I feel like Hannah Francis kind of got that vibe going on. Just makes you feel like you're listening to something that came from like the Game of Thrones world or something like that. But it sounds great. The vocals are fantastic. She is a really, really poignant singer. Delivers some really interesting imagery on some of the tracks as well, with the lyrics and the interesting stories that she's weaving in. I'm very impressed with this one. I feel as though this is another album that should be getting more hype than it has been getting. I could say that about most of these albums on this list, to be fair with you, but this one particularly feels like it has an audience somewhere that would really like absolutely go crazy for this. So yeah, indie nerds, get on this one if you haven't already. It's fantastic. And I believe I've given you 9 so far, so this is the 10th and final pick, but in no particular order, because we aren't doing that at this point of the year. But no worries. Let it be known that this is very much up there with the very best of 2024. Yes, loved Why Lord. I think after Yes Lord, people might have thought, okay, can they really top it? And then, okay, they did top it, because I do still think Yes Lord is very good. I do think that run in 2016 that Anderson .Paak gave us was generational. It really was. But I can't deny it, man. I just think the production on this one is better. I just think the vocal delivery from Anderson .Paak on this one is better as well. I think the lyrics are way more like focused, and they do feel, you know, pretty sad at times. You know, you've got more of like Anderson .Paak in his kind of like, you know, breakup bag really on this one. It kind of feels like classic Al Green at points. Like seriously, just yearning for your lady, yearning for your woman in a way that you know you can't get her back. Because I know he did go through some personal stuff pretty recently, and it really shows on this album. And yeah, he really delivered so much with the kind of like emotional delivery that we got throughout this album. It's great. The tracks just sound fantastic as well. Like, I cannot get over how good Knowledge is as a producer. Like, how is it that we haven't seen more collaborations pop up like this? Like, why is it just No Worries? Where is like Kendrick Lamar and Knowledge, or, you know, like Vince Staples and Knowledge? Like, why are we not seeing more of that? This guy is so good. Some of these tracks are perfect in how they sound. The sequencing of the album is great too. Oh, it's all so good. So good. Cannot deny this one. It's one of the best of the year. And just happy that once again, Anderson .Paak is proving to us that he really is one of the best of our time. Like the run of albums, you've got Silk Sonic, which was great. You've got Malibu. You've got this. You've got Yes Lord. You've got friggin' Ventura, which I think was a bit underrated, but still really good. Like, how many more classics is he going to give us? Because these are going to age well too. I have no doubt that these albums from him are going to age very, very well. Yeah, man. I just feel bad for anybody that isn't paying attention to Anderson .Paak, because you've missed an unbelievable run of music. This guy is one of the very best. After I just spent ages gushing over that album, that is it from me. There are 10 albums in this video that I think are the best of 2024 so far. Let me know your thoughts on these albums. If you agree with me, you disagree, you will tell me if you disagree, because you like doing that. But what are your favorites of the year? What should I check out that is going under the radar? Because there are many albums I'm sure that I haven't heard that should be listened to, and there may be more great albums for the rest of the year as well that will make this list look entirely different by the end of the year. So as always, check out more videos as well, other lists that I've done for 2024 so far, because there's been quite a few of them in the short form content and in also the long form content. Please be aware of those and watch those as well. Subscribe at the very least, like the video. Would love to see more people stick around. Have a good day and goodbye.